Welcome back to Cool Club's headquarters here in Scottsdale. We are back with Tom Olsavsky and Mark Timms, and we are going to talk irons today. I know you've got a King line, and we're going to also touch on the Aerojet model as well. Where do you want to start?
Well, we can start with the Aerojet, continuing, from the conversation we just had a little bit ago.
Yep.
Aerojet is really an iron that we're trying to get that game improvement golfer, more speed, more distance, great feel. One of the things that we hear often from golfers when they answer a survey on irons is they want feel. It's their number one category, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we hear distance, but they want feel. Now, when we drill down a little bit, we found out that they pick feel because they already think they're going to get distance with new irons.
Yeah, right.
Because they're a
Right.
distance
Yeah.
iron.
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny.
That's actually a funny like when you ask people about feel. Lots of people nowadays, it doesn't matter what the handicap is, when I fit them, they say, I want something forged. I'm like, why? And it's like because they think it feels better, and I'm like, I don't know that's necessarily what's going to make you play better golf, or if that has any bearing on it. But the whole forging casting thing is really just about shape, right, and the ability to make materials do different things.
Yeah, and exactly. It's interesting because in the old days,
Right.
You and I are the old days guys, I was at a place where they made a forging and a casting that were the exact same geometry.
Huh.
And they were both soft carbon steel alloys, right? And we had people hit them.
Yep, couldn't tell the difference. Huh?
Nobody can tell the difference.
Well, people don't realize most of the wedges out there are cast.
Right.
And from the biggest companies you would think of, they're all forged, and they're not.
Exactly.
So,
So, it's the material properties, right? So it's usually the modulus elasticity, so that's the stiffness, right? And then it's the geometry, and things are very important in geometry, like how long is the hosel? It feels different when the hosel's long versus hosel short, because that whole thing moves.
Yeah.
When you look at an FEA plot, the whole structure moves when you hit the impact, and you can see. So if you get a longer hosel, they feel a lot better because the hosel mass is there, and it changes the way the whole thing flexes. So the feel that we keep hearing, as you're right, Jack, is that forged feel is what people want.
Yeah,
That's
right.
what they want. But they also want them to be hot and go far. So, that's the trade-off. And what we've been trying to do in our game improvement irons the last 3-4 years is, and I think we've done a great job, but I don't want to pat myself on the back too much, is great feel on our game improvement irons. So we use a polymer elastomer. This new structure with the Aerojet irons is a bridge, a little different than the metalwood bridge.
It's not across the sole.
It's not, it goes across, but it's actually across two posts as opposed to fairing into the sole.
Yeah.
So it's a little different, and it goes into the back of the head. With last year, we had it connecting heel and toe, so it was a little stiffer heel and toe. This one actually flexes even a little bit more, and it's a little bit faster. So we get about 1.5 miles more speed out of it. 3-4 yards for the same lofts. We didn't strengthen the lofts
Well, that's good.
from last year.
Yeah.
So that makes everybody a little
These
happy.
are strong. They're not out of the ordinary for most companies. these
Exactly.
days, in that kind of game improvement segment.
As long as you can get it going up in the air. I don't mind strong lofts as long as you see the thing pop
Right.
really high, really quick.
Yeah. And so one of the things is the blade length is designed so we're a little bit, just a smidgen shallower. CG's 0.5 millimeter lower. Gives you that benefit to get the ball up quick. So that's the good thing about the Aerojet irons. We're really excited about them. When you hit them, some of our guys like, oh, I really like the way these feel, and I could play them because they go really far.
Right.
But then I look at the other ones. Oh, I would rather play the other one because it looks better. But it's that trade-off. A golfer has to decide what do you want in the bag. You want it, and traditionally, Rickie has played one of these type of 4-irons in his bag.
Really?
Right.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of tour players do that.
Yeah.
A
So
lot of
for the
players have
longest iron,
a
he
3-iron
played.
or 4-iron, and they go up a different model, and basically it becomes a driving iron to some extent.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it's fun because with the strong lofts, it fits in well to the player set where it is like an iron.
Yep.
So I think he goes from 4-iron to 4-iron, and it's 4
Right.
degrees difference.
Yeah.
So it all works out in the end.
And you've got the face tech in that too, right?
Yes. So that power shell we've used in our irons for 5 years. And that was really, we pioneered it with that old oversized hybrid and our game improvement irons for a long time. So we've designed it recently with it. It's got a little bit more flex. The whole bridge structure allows the head to flex even more. So again, more speed, better feel in the end, and it gets up quick enough for most people to see.
Is there any aerodynamic story for irons? Because you've got a big face there.
No, there isn't. Now, it's funny you asked that. Years ago when we came in, and this is a one length story, we make them in one length. But when we first were working with Bryson, we were learning about one length. And so we didn't really know much about it. I'd hit him back in the Tommy Armour days, 15, 20 years ago, or 30 years ago now. And he was like, no, this is what I do. And he came to us and he said, well, if these clubs are all the same length and the same weight, back then he was using 7-iron shafts in every club.
Right.
Why do I swing them different speeds? And the physicist Bryson said, I think it's aerodynamics. There's got to be something different. So I chatted with Mike Yagley, who, if you guys know, Mike used to be an aerodynamicist.
Really? Okay.
At Boeing, and then he got into the golf ball business, and eventually he came over to us, so he's been with us, and he helps us with all the design of the aero stuff. And Mike did a little bit of quick eyeballing, said, I don't think so. If you think of irons, they're different lofts, but they're about the same frontal area, and you got sort of a blunt surface, so you got a lot of draggy edges,
right.
And so there's no real difference in a 4-iron to a wedge in terms of aerodynamics. And so Bryson, there's got to be, I swing them different. I swing them different speeds. I should swing them all the same speeds because of the length weight thing. Yeah. But we found out, and we did some work with our own guys, and we said, when you're a golfer and you put down a 4-iron, what do you think?
I'm going to beat this thing.
I better hit it.
Yeah,
I better hit it.
So it's just a mental thing.
And when you put down a wedge, you think something else. You
control.
Think,
right?
I want to hit the target.
Yep.
And so our brain just automatically swings them different speeds, even though they're exact in his first set of makeups.
Same weight, same length, same everything.
Exactly
it should be the same speed.
Yeah. So it's just interesting how that works. But no aerodynamics in the Aerojet irons. But the good thing is they fly like jets, which is good.
Yeah.
They're hot, they're fast. Trying to reduce spin to get more distance, but still maintain good landing angles. Our 7-iron landing angles are still above 40 degrees in most of our testing, and that's kind of our target. We know there's a range there that makes sense. And if you want more power, that can be designed with shaft and some other fitting tools like that. But we know that we got to compete on distance. We got to get noticed a little bit from where we sit in the brand wars. And we feel really good about the technology we put into the Aerojet irons. The other good thing is we do the one length with them, and there's still a lot of positive feedback we get on one length. We've sold over 43,000 sets of one length irons since 2017. Everybody says, wow, when they hear that.
Yeah,
I can't believe it's that many.
I'm surprised that many.
I can believe it's that many. Picking up the phone when Bryson did that, and how many phone calls we got.
Especially over code. If you're a new golfer or a new person, it's difficult for guys that have been playing a long time that are used to something, whatever. But new golfers, it's so much easier to learn how to swing one length.
Well, it's interesting. I agree with that part of it, but I also agree with the part that we found through our research and my own personal experiences that if you're not a single-digit handicapper,
right,
you're going to hit your irons better with one length than you are with your regular irons. If you're not a single digit. And we found a lot of people did that. So that's the hard part is there's a lot of industry inertia around, they don't really work or they're kind of a gimmick or whatever. But every time we get them to people and they try them, like, wow, they do work and I'm more consistent. So that's the thing that 43,000 is a lot.
Yeah.
It should be more. And again, my theory is if you're not single digit, what do you got to lose?
Right.
yeah, give it a try.
You'll probably be more consistent with your irons.
You're practicing the same length all the time, same swing. It's certainly easier to mess around with that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think when Bryson first came, Mike Shy, his coach, said he spent a third less time practicing his irons while still maintaining. Bryson, when he came into college ranks and tour ranks, was known as one of the most accurate iron players in the game. Wow. Now, he's changed that because he went for the whole speed distance thing. But for a long time, he was more accurate with a 180-yard shot than most tour guys were with a 120-yard shot when he first started playing.
That's impressive.
So that's what you get when you have a very consistent swing, a very consistent setup. And we've designed the heads so they work better with those lengths. So it's been very successful for us. We also get a lot of satisfaction surveys back with our normal irons and our one-length irons, and they actually rate higher satisfaction with one length than they do with variable length.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of interesting. And the scores are, like 87, 88 with the variables. They're in the 90s with the one lengths. Because once you got over the mental hurdle that I'm going to play one length, you find it really is more consistent.
Yeah.
So it's been very successful for us. So we have those available in the Aerojets.
Thank you for making them too, because the amount of phone calls you had, I want to turn my set into a one length.
You know how
just go away. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah, just doing that from scratch, trying to adjust club heads with weights and stuff is a nightmare.
It's just not even feasible.
Well, it is, but it's crazy amounts of work. I mean, Bryson's
remember
clubs had set that they had before, obviously all ground down and messes. It's way easier to do from scratch. So if anyone's thinking about one length, just get Cobras and be done with it. Trying to mess around with your own there's a lot of headaches that come with it.
I remember talking to you right after we did that,
Yeah.
and you said, "Oh my God, it's a disaster," and we know because that's how we made the first sets for them. Our tour guys went
Adding
in
the
there,
tape,
grinding, welding.
Yep.
Oh, geez, a nightmare. It took them a week to make the first set.
I bet.
Yeah.
And you probably had a few guys on it, full, they're working, 8-hour days, right?
Yeah. So then we figured out, hey, how did we get the vendor to do that? And then we
if you cast them from scratch and you make them that way, that's not that bad.
Yeah, but his specs are changing all the time.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
So you gotta keep
lofts,
changing
lies,
yours.
weights,
Lots of molds.
all kinds of good stuff. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the fun one.
Yeah,
This is the King line, right? So this is their blade, which looks beautiful, by the way. They got a cavity back forged CB, and then the tour version, which is a little bit more distance oriented. So.
Yeah, exciting. We're very excited about those. I've been playing the Tour Irons now for a couple months and really happy with my play. We've also had Rickie go into them, which was really exciting. I have a number 2 finish right away out of the gate, in the new season. We have Bryson's sets we're working on. He was playing the prior version of that blade, so we'll get those into his bag soon. And that iron is really designed. All the King forged irons are 5-step forging. We've used that for a long time at Cobra.
Gotcha.
Gives us more precision, that great soft forge feel that people want, with still some good distance performance and forgiveness. The Tour Iron is actually an undercut iron where we cut out the back with a little bit of elastomer.
Right, I see you got an elastomer piece in here too.
Oh, okay. I haven't
Just
seen
put
that
in
bit
there,
myself.
yeah.
Right.
So that's got to help the feel quite a bit too.
It's
The
feel.
elastomer thing in a undercut's got to feel great.
Yeah, it's feel and forgiving. And
Right.
the idea that Rick, and Rick had a little piece out that he put in the media last year, and he said, I just turned 30. I need a little more forgiveness. So he went in, and he's been playing those and really happy with the way they feel, the way they perform. We also shortened the blade just a little bit. If you looked at our past versions.
It's not long heel to toe. I mean, it doesn't look that much different than the blades themselves.
Right, yeah, they were a little bit longer in the past, and that was some of the negative comments we got on those. But these are really nice looking, and I think that's one of the reasons why Rick switched right away and is really loving the performance. So they look great, feel great, fly great.
Can you blend all three?
You can. It's a little tricky as you get the standard set we offer in stock, if you will, is the MB-CB combo. Those are the same lofts through both of those sets.
Right.
And we offer all the SKUs, so you can mix and match however you want. The King Tours are 2 degrees stronger per SKU than those. And
Across the
obviously,
board, all the way 2 degrees?
yeah. So obviously you can bend them, but you got to do a little tweaking in there. But the design was really, hey, the MB-CBs are kind of the combo play. The Tours, we think many times will just go right into the bag, full go.
Yeah. Maybe throw a 4-iron in or something in the tour if you play the others just to.
Well, that's a good question, Jack, because when you think about the offerings, like we talked a little bit earlier, Rickie has played a game improvement 4-iron. He's not playing a cavity back 4-iron because he wants some more speed and height and flight out of it. So we do have the Forge Tech X. We have the Aerojets, all those. We also have new utility irons coming. We won't talk too much about those. So we've got actually a lot of 4-iron SKUs that you can throw in your bag in a fit. Yeah. So that's up to you guys as the fitters to do the hard work of figuring out which of the 6 4-irons make sense.
What are the lofts? So on the 6-iron for these blades, what's the lofts on the 6-iron?
I remember 7-iron lofts, so
that one's fun.
I'll give you that. It's 32 for the Tour, and 34 for the MB-CBs.
It's not crazy strong at all.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, those are pretty traditional
You
Tour
don't need
lofts.
5 wedges in your bag with those. That's good.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the modern sets, if you look, the modern
45
sets,
is kind of a pitching wedge.
Competitive in all the aspects, and we know these irons are the aspirational best players. They want the great look and the great feel and the great workability, and we have that now with Cobra this year with all 3 of these blades.
Yeah, they really do look good. It's like soft is the best way I can describe them. Every edge looks soft. It just looks tidy on the ground.
Looks really good.
Really nice. Yeah. And what about bounce? Do you change much of the bounce between the CB and the MB?
They're pretty consistent. The blade lengths are fairly consistent and widths, so there's not too much change there. They're pretty traditional for what we've done for tour players.
Yep.
I'd have to look at my chart to remember exactly which ones they are. As you get to Mark's age and my age, I'm trying to remember 6 sets of irons, what the bounces are.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, I can't remember where my keys are most of the time.
Oh, great. Have you got anything else to touch on the irons? You got any? I remember that you did the RF specials with like no offset and the bronze finish. Anything like that?
We're looking at some finishes. Finishes are always popular for us to kind of throw into the line. Typically, the King irons, we do run them 2 years. So typically in year 2, we'll come out with some finishes, but we're doing some testing now on some new ones. The copper ones did really well for us in the MIM tours.
They look beautiful. They're cool
and those are, a lot of time I had those in my bag for a while, and everywhere I went, it's like, oh, those are really good looking. I think it's the old I2 Berylliums that everybody remembers, of our era. But those did really well for us, but we try and space those out a little bit to see when they make sense in the market. Right now, they're just in chrome. We're looking at some other finishes for probably a next year launch.
Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
It was great. Well, thank you so much for spending all the time with us on
you
all of
did.
these podcasts.
Awesome.
Yeah, really, really good tech stuff. So.
And good luck with Bryson. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
It's
You're
fun.
pushing the curve. That's
well,
great.
You got to
That's
stretch
great.
your brain every now and
Yeah,
then.
absolutely. It's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks.
Have a good one.
Cheers.